I'm Eric.
And I'm Jaime.
And this is Horrorscope, a podcast for people who love horror movies.
And people who want to love them.
He's back!
Who?
The man in the sweater. Ari Aster.
Oh, little sweater man.
Little sweater boy
little
coming
sweater
back.
Boy's back.
But not back. Been there.
He's been back.
He's been back.
We're going back to him.
We're going back to him. We're going back to back with Ari Aster.
So I was saying off the pod, I don't know if this is the perfect time or the worst time to watch Hereditary, but we're doing it. It's October. It's spooky month. It was on the list. And I was like really chomping at the bit to watch it the other night. And now I'm like having a very relaxed, pleasant Sunday. And so now it's the perfect time to just...
Pairs will Decapitation. Spoilers.
Ooh, just layer it on here. Yeah, it's time. I've been looking forward to watching this movie. Maybe not... looking forward and also afraid of watching this movie for 2 years.
Great.
So...
It's finally happening. You can't stop now. We already started recording.
Yes.
As you know, we can't
keep
go
the
back.
momentum going.
Yeah.
So this movie, okay, I remember I feel like we've talked about this movie a lot in the podcast already. We've already talked about it a lot.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Just because Ari Aster, it's all over. His DNA is all over. I don't like using DNA
with
Ari
Aster.
Aster.
Blacklight all over this podcast. See what happens.
You just see his face
sucks.
pop up in blacklight.
Ew. Yeah. You said this was the last movie that really freaked you out.
Oh yeah. Saw in theaters, and it was probably one of the best theater experiences I might have ever had.
Oh my god, yes.
Because this movie was advertised so well, which we can get into, but the trailer doesn't show anything, and you think it's kind of one thing, and you just hear that it's fucked up, but you have no idea why it's fucked up.
Yeah.
And then you go in the theater and you watch this movie, and you're like, oh, because it's this is in the times of the recliner seats, so you can just hear everybody in the seats slowly shifting and moving.
Okay,
And
speaking of seats, will you sit next to me for this one? I don't want to be.
Oh yeah.
Yes. Okay. Good. We haven't had to do that since it.
Did I sit next to you in it?
Yes.
Well,
it didn't even matter. Didn't even need it. I didn't even need you there.
Oh my god. It does kind of feel, no offense to you, but it does feel like if when I sit next to you, it's like when you see the couples at restaurants that sit on the same side of the booth.
Yeah. The other side is Hereditary, so technically the booth is full.
Oh, great.
Yeah.
And on the other side, it's
Toni.
It's trauma.
Collette. I'm
Collette.
Oh my god.
But yeah, so I saw it, and then...
So you didn't see it with Film Bros?
I did see it with Film Bros.
With reviewers?
Oh, no.
No, with your bros who like film.
Yes.
Okay, that's different. That's different.
Different type of film bros. We're in the first row because that's the only row that was available.
Oh my
so
God,
we're just
no. I hate that. Where do you sit in movie theaters?
I'm usually a middle center person.
Okay.
That's the way to do it.
Yeah.
Before times when theaters didn't have recliners.
Yeah.
You'd always want to sit in that front top row area where there's the bars, at Harkins. Where
Yeah.
So that way you put your feet up there. But now...
Oh, that's right.
You can put up your feet anywhere.
I know. I'm a top. I'm top of top. Oh, okay.
Jamie, that's cool, but where do you like to sit in the movie theater?
Doing it to finish my sentence. I like to sit as far away from the screen as possible.
Perfect.
Fucker. Wow.
No,
so much unusable audio.
This is all usable. What are you talking about? Don't cut that. Don't you dare cut that.
I'm the editor on purpose. This seems like a difficult movie with your... That seems like...
You're just getting hit with all of it.
Oh.
There's all the crying, all the... it's great.
I think the parts of this movie you're worried about, I am not worried about. I think we're worried about the opposite parts.
We'll find out.
I guess we'll find out. Yeah.
But last note on my viewing experience, we did see it later, and I was living with my parents at the time. And so I came home, and in this movie, Toni Collette, at one point, is wearing a white nightgown and
yeah.
doing creepy stuff.
No.
And I come home. My mother is never downstairs up at night. Yet for whatever this night,
no.
I'm thinking about the movie. I open the door, she's just sitting on the couch, and I flip the fuck
out.
No,
your mom.
And she's like, "What?" And I'm like, "Oh my, I gotta tell you something."
Oh,
and I'm like, this is why I was freaked out, and tried to explain Hereditary to her without
freaking her out
Freaking
too much.
Yeah.
Oh no.
Oh, my mom's a tough cookie.
What is she?
She's seen worse.
Was she unpleased? I'm sure she would not be happy about all that.
No, she was fine.
Oh my god, that would be very scary. That's why, okay, we're watching it. I think it'll probably be dark by the time we're done recording. But how long is this movie?
I think it's like 2 hours. Yeah.
Okay.
Have you ever had it? So this is similar to. Have you ever had it where like you think you see a shadow at night? Because you have animals. So I've had this experience where like you think you see something and you get like you're like, oh, there's nothing there, and you look and you see something move, and in that moment you're just like your heart.
I actually just don't do that.
Oh.
I just don't look anymore because my animals are like in my potted plants. They are going through the garbage. They're sitting in a suitcase in the closet wrestling each other. Oh. But right now, if I hear a noise, I'm like, it's up to God. And then I go to bed. I'm like, perfect. You know, it's almost always one of my animals.
Keep that mindset.
Yeah.
Even after watching this movie, because oh man,
I haven't had any. If we watch the movies late at night, they keep me up because I'm thinking about them, but I haven't had any bad dreams about any of the movies.
I'm not even talking about bad dreams. I'm just talking about
I know, sleeping.
Seeing spooky shadows, man.
Yeah, I know. So I am pretty well prepared for this movie, I think, because I have read the script. And I've also read, like, every piece of content I can find about this movie because I wanted to watch it so bad, but I was like, no way. And I know I've mentioned on the pod before, I've watched the scariest parts of this movie out of context.
Oh, wait, yeah. I don't know how I forgot that bit.
Yeah, perfect. Yeah, I've watched the scariest parts. Well, I think it's different without the dread building up. But me trying to visualize those parts of the movie was much worse than watching them. I'm talking about the decapitation part. I couldn't imagine what it could even look like. I could not fathom it. So then when I watched it, I was like, oh.
Spoilers. Decapitation.
I mean, spoilers. Hereditary is a 2018 American horror tragedy film written and directed by Ari Aster in his feature film directorial debut. It stars Toni Collette, Alex Wolff, Millie Shapiro, and Gabriel Byrne as a family haunted by a mysterious presence after the death of their secretive grandmother.
All right, get into some stuff. Let's see what you know. So I did a little bit more background research on Ari Aster just to see why he's so fucked up.
Oh, boy.
No answers. I did find some stuff.
How old is he? Do you know?
He's got to be in like his 30s.
Yeah, sorry. I always ask you questions.
Always the questions I don't have.
Sorry.
No, it's great. Get me on a 34.
Okay.
That's like the average starting director's age.
Okay.
And he also so he started he went to he was born in New York City, and then during his childhood lived in England for a little bit, and then eventually they ended up in New Mexico, of all places. Which I never, no offense to anybody from Arizona, but every time you hear that, like, oh, I used to live in New York or England, now I'm living in Arizona, I'm like, this is such a
You're like, here?
Simpler place.
Here? Why? Yeah.
But both his parents were kind of like in the arts. I think his mom was like a poet and his dad was like some sort of musician. I could be getting that wrong. But it's a very artsy family.
Okay.
And so they're always very supportive of him. And then he went to, he got a master in fine arts at AFI Conservatory, which is Advanced Film Studies. It's kind of like a trade school. Yeah,
it's like a film trade school.
Yeah, that's cool. That's how he kind of refers to it. It's also in LA, which always helps because you just gotta go where it's at. But he wanted to make a family tragedy that curls into a nightmare with this movie. He had already made a few others. He made one really fucked up short that got popular, and his reasoning was literally just because he said he's like a weird, like, he just wants to push boundaries and like shock people. I mean, because he was saying he watched when he went to the AFI. There's a lot of like very like Hollywood, like just like very like commercial friendly things that they were showing.
Okay.
And he's like, how do I do the opposite of that and make it still watchable? And then that's when he made his little incest movie.
I don't love that. I don't love that approach.
He seems to, because
that's like edginess for edginess sake.
Right.
But he was younger when he made that too, so maybe we'll forgive him.
There's like 10 years, or not 10 years, but it took like 10 years to get this movie made apparently. Because I think he graduated AFI in 2008. So 10 years before he got his first feature debut. Okay, so
but he was like 25. He was like our age.
Yeah.
Whatever, we're great, and I don't know about that.
But even then, like the movies that like you saw Midsummer, and like his solution to being like, oh, I want to make a breakup movie was doing all that weird fucked up shit. And like this movie too, the main point he was talking about was like this was very like a personal film and like dealing with his like family tragedy that didn't really necessarily relate to him. And he has a good relationship with his family apparently. he's very cryptic about it. He says he gets along with his family, but there's some sort of
this movie.
But then there's some family trauma in there. I don't know where it fits in. We gotta wait until the bio comes out about this guy.
This fucked me up because when I was younger, I thought that all songs were autobiographical, like all music. I was like, this happened to this person. Oh. So I got really upset at Connor Oberst because of Bright Eyes.
Yeah.
When I was listening to some of his music, he's like, yeah, I just kind of have interesting concepts and I just make them up. And I felt super betrayed, my little emo self. I was like, so like, I don't know about...
The guy who sings Monster Mash did not actually witness a Monster Mash.
That's fucked up.
It's really fucked up.
That guy's canceled. Monster Mash man, you're canceled. Sorry.
You heard it here first. Were you about to say this? Yes.
Yeah, I don't know about that. Well, here's something. I think it's important for people who make stuff. So, like, on this podcast, minus the Lighthouse episode, we talked about Robert Pattinson off topic in bits that have been cut almost from every single episode. But we had, like...
No off-topic questions unless they're about Robert Pattinson.
It was just us talking about bullshit, and then we end up talking about Robert Pattinson, and it's really funny, in my opinion, but I can't leave it in because all the other parts are not good leading into it, so I'm like, it's going to make it too long. But I had a mini crisis because I listened more closely to FKA Twigs, his ex-fiancé. I listened to Cellophane. I got really sad. And I was like, is Robert Pattinson a shithead? So I went down the rabbit hole of stuff. But I think it's just a mistake. And there's been like a renaissance of Robert Pattinson, to briefly derail us. Because everyone's rewatching Twilight. But I think what I'm getting at is I think it's important to appreciate someone for their art, but you don't have to think that they're, like, I guess Ari Aster doesn't owe us his personal trauma history, or if he just wants to make something fucked up, even if I'm not talking about that short film in the slightest, but, like, Midsommar really resonated with me, and I know this movie has resonated with a lot of people, so I think even if your intention is just to be fucked up, if you still have something that lands, it's still valid.
I think he uses fucked up stuff as an element.
Yeah.
Like it's the go-to, but he has a lot to back it up.
Go-to heads getting lobbed off.
Yeah. Like, I think, like, because, like, compared this to... Because, like, you could see it through the success of these films compared to other fucked up movies like Antichrist or something like that, where they're more art house and then they're just kind of fucked up, too. But I don't think they have the same kind of, like, wide appeal that he's somehow able to deliver. And
he's, like, tapping into, like... I feel like something kind of like primal in people, like something that they're just like this it articulates something about being a human that is like tragic.
Yeah, because I think what you were talking about is that this movie is fucked up for like two reasons. One, through the depictions of gore in it.
Yeah. But
then two, the depictions of emotions in it.
Yeah.
And I think the depictions of emotions in it are probably more unsettling and more depressing than like the depictions of gore in it.
I'm the other way. I'm more prepared to see the grief parts. Those are the parts I'm like anticipating more. I'm like, oh, she gets it. Obviously haven't lost a kid, so I guess spoilers for the movie again. I'll put spoilers up top. I mean, it's fine.
But yeah, he uses the word cathartic a lot when talking about a lot of his movies.
Yeah.
But I mean, by a lot, I mean just these two movies.
Yeah.
Again, back to back, baby. 2018, this comes out. Next year gives us another one.
Because they were making them at the same time, right?
Like practically on top of each other.
That's insane.
Which is crazy compared to like Robert Eggers, who did The Witch back in like 2014. And then we didn't get his other one until 5 years later.
Yeah.
Even though we had projects that
had to let it marinate. Disgusting.
But I think this is also an interesting movie, or to research at least, probably to watch too after watching the Extreme Haunted Houses stuff.
That's what I was thinking as well.
Because he is also taking his own personal trauma and grievances and whatever, and then like instead of torturing people, putting it into these movies. And that he straight up said that like he feels like making this movie is worth more than just like sitting in a therapist chair, which I don't know about that, but
that sounds like someone who hasn't been to therapy.
But that he is but it's talking about the people with artists too, and how they artists tend to, instead of like dealing with their emotions and stuff like that, they channel that and utilize that for art, which it seems like that's what he likes to do too.
This movie, I'm sure you'll talk about it, because I sent you that article about Nate Wolff, right? Nate Wolff? That's his name.
Alex Wolff.
Alex Wolff. Nate Wolff is the other one from the Naked Brothers band. Yes. Alex Wolff did like method acting for this and just like ruined I think he made like a rookie actor's mistake and it like fucked him up. And Toni Collette was like, he was very unpleasant to be around and work with.
Oh, I didn't see that quote.
Yeah,
like
she was just like, it sucked working with him because he was just so fucking miserable. But he did a good job, and at the end of the day, kid figured it out. And I'm like, damn, Tony!
Get him!
Yeah, I think he just went to his mind palace and made it mind prison. It's like Michel Foucault for you, but he just put himself in mind prison and did a trauma on himself.
Because it's like, it's reckless of method acting. I think we kind of like, it's like, it's for the art. And I get that.
Yeah.
And I get that actors, you can't just force yourself to experiment into it.
Yeah.
But you have to be responsible with yourself and everyone around you. We even briefly kind of talked about it on The Lighthouse with like the different method acting between William Dafoe and Robert Pattinson.
Drinking brain water, spinning around.
And it's just like, I get that actors need to get to a certain spot, but like when you think about a crew and like a schedule and timing and budget, and you have some actor who's just like, I'm in the sunken place. It's like, I'm going to spin around and try to make myself throw up. It's just like, all right, come on.
Well, the thing is, too, so Millie Shapiro, who plays, what's her name? Little sister. She, like, kicked ass and apparently was, like, really professional. This is her first movie. Mm. And Toni Collette loved her and was obsessed with her. And she's like, she's so smart and thoughtful and was, like, making choices that were like so purposeful. So she was just like a big pro, and then poor Alex Wolff is in the corner being like bleh.
Which not to just like discredit any sort of acting talent, but I'm sure there's one version that's more pleasant to be around, especially with this movie, because what you're pretty much saying is like, oh, I'm going to like try to be miserable the entire time. Yeah. So with Nate or now you got me doing it. Alex Wolff apparently also like for a few of the takes like drank shots of balsamic vinegar to make himself feel like sick, and claims to have PTSD after like filming this. Which again, like I think it is possible for somebody to like get so involved with something that you caused yourself, you like inflict damage on yourself. Yeah. And like has said that he doesn't remember filming scenes. Like, has, like, given himself trauma, so he doesn't...
Dude, that's not good!
And it's just, like...
It's not good. It's not worth it.
You would think or hope that there would be, like, somebody on set or...
Yeah.
Like, you almost need, like... Because there's intimacy coaches. Yeah. You need almost, like, method coaches to be, like, there to be, like,
or, like, a psychologist. Yeah.
Yeah.
Because he was pretty young when they made this movie, right?
I don't know how old he was.
Oh, I'm sorry, I'm asking again. I think he was...
Millie Shapiro was very young. She started off on Broadway. They both went to the, like, same high school acting thing. So they kind of knew each other.
Oh, really?
Already.
Yeah. Alex Wolff is 22 right now.
Oh, baby. Oh, my God.
So he's a little baby.
Sorry, I shouldn't say, oh, baby. Just like, oh, he is a baby.
A baby.
A baby.
So he was, if he's 22 right now, then he was 20 making this. That's young enough to fuck it up, I'll say. Yikes.
And then, speaking of actors, Toni Collette fucking kills it in this movie. We'll say it right off the top. She was attracted to the role. She didn't really want to do horror, but she likes playing like complex mothers.
Specific.
Very specific. And she does it because in Krampus, she plays complex mothers.
Krampus?
And then in that movie that just came out recently, I'm thinking of Ending Thing, she plays a weird mom.
Yeah.
So she just likes being
moms.
Oh,
I want to did you see that yet? You did see it. Did you like it?
It was right. It was good.
Okay.
I don't know if you would like it or not. It's weird.
Now you never know.
Yeah.
A mystery.
Woo! But yeah, so she was like, she really liked the script and came on board. She was like one of the first actors to come on. And was just like really impressed with Ari Aster. She was like, you gotta look out for this guy. He's like, she said he's the most prepped director she's ever worked with.
Nice.
Which makes sense because when I was listening to the podcast with Eagers and him, he was talking about their like lookbook for Midsummer, which was like a Bible size of just like different stuff and like would constantly go back and forth. I know. I was like, ha ha ha. And constantly refining it. So I can see him doing it. He apparently created like background stories for all these characters before he even like wrote a script.
I love that.
So he's just like super prepared.
Could you imagine having him in your D&D campaign?
No.
He it'd just be miserable. Rolls up and he's like...
He's like, could you explain the interior of this tavern, please, and everyone who's involved in it and their trauma?
Yeah, tell me about their moms.
Yeah.
It's like, no. I kind of don't want to do that.
But yeah, so it was shot in Utah, of all places.
Okay.
But all the interiors were on a soundstage because in this movie there's a set piece with the dollhouse that the mom makes that replicates the actual house. Okay. So in order to do that, they pretty much built the set and then they had a person build a miniature for it.
That's sick.
So they did it twice. Yeah, it's very
really cool.
He again like kept on working with actors, made like Alex Wolff and Millie Shapiro like go and eat lunch in character, and she just wouldn't speak the entire time. And Alex was trying to like, it must. This seems like we're shitting on this kid. I'm sorry. He does a great job in this movie, but like to just like be like slightly older than this other person, and then them just like acting circles around you.
Oh no, you think circles? I heard he's the best part of this movie. A lot of people say that.
He's really good.
Yeah.
But what he thought was right to do and went into versus what she did.
Yeah.
Is just kind of like...
Yeah, she's just chilling on TikTok. So I follow her on TikTok.
Yeah.
I felt really bad for her because everyone just comments Hereditary stuff on her stuff. And she's like, can you guys stop, please? Aww. I'm trying to be an e-girl.
Wow!
She's like green hair and like little pointy eyebrows. And she's like trying to do like the voiceover kind of cringy TikTok songs.
Great.
And everyone's like... lol, your head got chopped off. And it's like, oh man, like literally, it's so sad.
I think the only solution, tragically, is just to do more movies. Like, that's how you do it. You just gotta do a bunch of movies, and then you can do whatever you want. Because then people stop associating you with
the Robert Pattinson method.
The Robert Pattinson method, yes.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
I was also thinking about recently with, like, the Keanu. Because Keanu used to be just, like, the dumb guy from, like, Bill and Ted's and
the sweet
Point
himbo.
Break. The sweet himbo, yes.
And now who is he? America's himbo! The nation's himbo.
American Himbo sounds like a really good movie.
Oh my god.
There apparently is like a 3-hour cut of this movie, but the scenes the scenes they cut are all just family drama.
No. I'm good.
Yeah. I don't think I need more of this movie.
I feel like as we're talking about it, I'm ramping up to watching it.
Hell yeah, that's what I like to hear.
I think so.
But apparently he was like doing sound design and color correction like within the week before they showed it at Sundance because they were in a time crunch. Yeah.
Oh no.
Miserable. I feel like that's more of a common story than we'd like to think.
Yeah, I'm sure.
Because I was watching, they were doing like an interview with like an audience, and somebody asked him. He's like trying to talk about it. He's like, you know what? I was running back and forth. We tried.
No.
But he also got the composer Colin Stenson, who is a saxophonist, who has played and done tours with Bon Iver, Arcade Fire, Tom Waits, and more.
Sick.
And so he did apparently some film score stuff before, but I think this movie is almost more unsettling because of his music.
I heard that his note for the music was make it sound evil.
Yes.
And that was it.
And because I love listening to film scores. He also went off to do Color Out of Space score.
Oh, cool.
And so I think there's something about whatever he is able to do that kind of creates like a guttural like unsettledness because it's very like saxophone and like breathing techniques and stuff like that. So it's kind of droning and like...
Oh my god, I'm so excited.
It's very good. I just want to shout him out because it's super good. It's like so good I never want to hear it again.
Oh my god. I watched the last scene of this and I think the last song is really beautiful.
It's beautiful. But it's like with Midsommar.
So like
you listen to that
sound.
and it's just like, and like Ari Aster did comment on when he was working with Midsommar too. Wow, we're talking about Midsommar again. But like working with that last song because it's like you're trying to convey a message that's confusing almost. Mm-hmm. Where it's like, is it happy? Yeah. Is it not happy? And like the music kind of reflects that completely. Where it's beautiful but horrifying.
Yeah.
Scores, man.
Oh boy.
So premiered at Sundance. Fun fact: apparently they accidentally showed this trailer in front of a screening of Peter Rabbit.
I heard about that. Oh
no! And they said about 40 kids saw it, and moms were running out of the theater with their children, freaking out, trying to get them to stop it. It's just...
Oh no, that's so funny. I want to watch the trailer before we watch it.
Okay.
Yeah, because I haven't seen the trailer.
Oh, sweet. Yeah.
I don't think. Yeah.
It's cool because we'll talk about it afterwards. We won't spoil the whole thing, but it definitely like misguides the audience, but sells them on what it is. Because I remember this movie too. Like I understand why it was successful because I had heard about it from Sundance. People were buzzing about it because it was so fucked up and good. And then I remember I was like at school and I was in like a work group, and then even like some of the other marketing students were like talking about it, like, oh, the trailer came out for this, like, oh, that looks sick, and like I heard it's fucked up. I'm like, oh, this is kind of like... But I mean, especially in business school, I gotta say,
for real. Yeah.
But it's like cool to see that it was like.
Yeah, I heard people like say this was the scariest movie ever. Like some reviewers were like,
The New Exorcist.
I know. Yeah.
It did say.
I saw that. Yeah.
I would say I haven't seen anything scarier than this in the theaters.
Whoa.
I don't even think scary is the right word though.
It's like dreadful.
Yeah.
Yeah. I was thinking about the difference between like the dread and the weirdness that built in Midsommar and that I assume is going to build in this movie versus Halloween, and I don't know what it is, but it like hits different with me, so I'm going to be thinking about that while we watch it.
That's a good point. Because they're both, I mean, this movie and Midsommar are very fate related. And very
There's something different.
Any last thoughts before going in?
No. No. Do you have anything?
No.
Okay, it's time!
Let's do it!
Let's do it!
Heads will roll!
Oh, boy. Hey, y'all. Content warnings for Hereditary are wild because this movie is wild. Here we go. Content warnings are the following: decapitation, gore, extreme depictions of grief and trauma, nose breaking, gaslighting, a brief discussion of suicide, a lot of ants, animal death, and animal beheading. I know that's a lot. As always, we try our best to be reasonable in our discussion, but we do get into it, so be careful if you need to be careful. It's our job and it's your job to make the world a little less horrific however we can, and some themes of this movie are predestination, choice, and the concept of motherhood. Toni Collette's character explicitly feels trapped by her first pregnancy, and she was pressured into that pregnancy by her mom, and she attempts to force a miscarriage multiple times. We know there's so much going on in this film, but after talking through it, we decided this week to donate to the Abortion Fund of Arizona, which is a nonprofit that works under the belief that abortion is a fundamental human right, essential for equality, health, and dignity. We've donated to them before through the podcast, and we will do it again because they have been working tirelessly in our politically conservative home state under an extreme anti-choice administration, and with everything going on, especially with the Supreme Court, they need all the help they can get right now. So you can learn more about them at theabortionfundofaz.org. All right, buckle up. Let's get into it. Okay.
Hail Paimon, Jaime.
We're back. Oh my god.
How are you feeling?
Ugh, just blech. But not, yeah, I don't know. I don't know. I did say halfway through, I was like, maybe I ruined this movie because what else did I do this for? What movie were we watching? And I was like, I don't remember. I was just like, oh, this isn't scary. I kind of ruined it. It was something.
It wasn't
I don't remember
Saw.
what it was.
It wasn't Alien. It was Alien? Because Alien.
It was Alien.
Yeah, Alien. Because you did say
yes.
and then
and
then the android.
Yeah. I was worried. I kind of know this movie beat by beat, even though I haven't seen it because I've read so much about it and I've read the script. But it was still just like, oh, there were some parts I was like waiting for, but I mean most of it. Yeah. I don't know. How do you? Okay, so you said this is only the second time you've seen it.
Yeah.
How did it feel watching it again?
First off, a note that I forgot to mention when my first viewing is that as we walked out of the movie theaters, my one friend said that this movie was evil. They said it was good, but they did say it was evil.
Evil, yeah.
And I think it was solely based on the fact, because this is what you were saying. Who was it? Somebody else had said that they were surprised that a movie was able to do this.
Yeah.
Which is spoiler territory. A little girl gets her head chopped off.
Yeah.
Whacked off. Yeah, by a pole out of a car window.
Yeah.
And that's
not all.
And more.
And more.
But yeah, just like showing that violent of a child death, it's like, is this allowed?
Yeah. What the fuck? Is that allowed?
Apparently it is, because it got approved and only had an R rating.
Yeah, tell me, can we talk about like I want to know the facts.
The hard facts. So this movie was made for $10 million and made $80.2 million worldwide.
Whoa.
Compared to Midsommar, which was made for $9 million and made $47.9 million.
That tracks. I can see, Midsommar definitely suffered coming after this movie.
Yes.
Because this movie really is very compact. It like does what it's going to do, you know?
Right.
And I understand why Midsommar like sprawls out a little bit. So I understand people being upset, like, or not as pleased with Midsommar as this movie. Pleased is maybe not the right word. Not as evocative, I guess. I don't know.
It doesn't. The Midsommar definitely doesn't
hit the same.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Which is good. I think it's good.
Yeah, it's great. I don't want anything to hit like this movie.
Yes.
Ever again.
But I think it's good on him to have these movies come out back to back, because now people can like recalibrate and kind of slowly get what an Ari Aster movie is. It's the best opening weekend of any A24 title, apparently.
Okay.
And there's a thing called Cinema Score, which is pretty much like a marketing firm that polls a bunch of audience reactions, and it notoriously got a D+ compared to all the critic reviews and stuff. Yeah.
Okay. Yeah,
Makes sense. Who's this movie for? Not everyone.
Ari Aster.
It's right up there with The Witch and Drive were the other two big things that they mentioned.
Okay.
So a lot of connections to the Witch.
The Witch.
They in the trailer, which we accidentally did not watch.
I know we didn't watch it. We just dove right in.
Yeah.
I gotta explain the movie.
Oh shit! Yeah. Good.
God, I wish I forgot. I'm gonna go very basically. Very basically. Okay. Opens up on an obituary. Toni Collette's mom died. She has 2 kids, a teenage son and a preteen daughter, and a stoic, useless husband. And she's delivering the obituary at her mom's funeral, and her kid's kind of weird, and she does this like this tongue thing, and they have a strained relationship, and her mom was I'm not doing this quick enough. Her mom was in hospice and lived with them before she died, but they were estranged, and she delivers a really scathing eulogy at this funeral. Not a great one.
Hopefully nobody has to experience this much hatred from their children.
Yeah, and then she's like, yeah, it's weird seeing a bunch of strangers here. Or is it? And then her son wants to go to a party to go smoke weed with a girl, and then she makes him bring the little sister who sleeps in the treehouse outside of their house, and the sister snips the head off of a bird that hits a window. Earlier. So she makes little weird figurines, and the mom is a miniature maker, so she makes little mini dollhouse diorama scene things, which isn't the creepiest profession of all time at all. And your mom makes miniature dioramas, and your dad's a psychiatrist. Those kids are set up to fail.
And fail do they?
And yeah. So little sister goes with him to the party. It's established she has a bad nut allergy, and he ditches her to go smoke weed, and he tells her someone's making a cake, and you see someone very insanely chopping walnuts.
You don't go to the walnut chopping cake parties?
Yeah, you're not like, you know what? Yeah, I love weed and walnut chocolate cake.
Yeah.
I mean, actually...
But, going to those parties, the most you could hope for is, a bag of, Cool Ranch Doritos.
Oh, yeah.
That party kind of slaps if it has, fucking walnut chocolate cake.
That's a great point.
It was a great party for everyone else.
So good. Okay, let me get through this. Okay,
we're still on the recap.
Literally the worst part. Charlie eats the cake. The sister, her name is Charlie, she eats the cake. Doesn't matter what her name is. You don't need to care. In roughly a minute, her throat starts closing up, and her poor brother is so fucking stoned, and so he picks her up, and he's driving her, and he's driving, and it's really dark, and she unrolls the window and sticks her head out to try breathe. She's going into shock, and then there's a deer in the road, and he swerves. They're on a back road. They're not in a really developed area, and then there is a telephone pole that we saw earlier that has a weird symbol on it. Catch it if you miss it. I only caught it because I've read it, because I read the Reddit threads. She sticks her head out, she gets decapitated, her head gets smacked off. If you can't imagine it, don't try to, because I couldn't, and I watched it, and I was like, okay. And it's miserable. He doesn't even look back at her body. Her body is still in the car. Her head is on the road. He does a little bit. He looks in the tries. Yeah.
Apparently in the original cut, too, or they did shoot her body in the back seat, but they cut it.
Okay. I think that's smart that they cut it.
I was listening to a different podcast, and they were talking about how, the special effects artist was, not even upset about it, because they, spent all this time on making the decapitated body, and then they watched the movie, oh, no, it's fine. You can cut that. That makes it so much more effective.
Yeah, it is, because you see him looking, and then he stops looking, and then he just drives home slowly and goes to bed and just lays there, and his eyes are open staring ahead. And then you hear Toni Collette going out to the store talking to her husband, and then you just hear her start shrieking because she finds the body in the car. just inhuman animal noises. Yeah, just shrieking, and then it cuts to her just, like, losing her goddamn mind. And him just, the dad trying to comfort her, and then him just standing there. What was his name?
Who?
What was the son's name in the movie?
Peter.
Yeah, Peter's just standing in the hallway listening to his mom scream, "I want to die." So that happens. Miserable. She snuck out before this to go to group therapy counseling. And one of my favorite shots in the movie, actually, is the circle. And she's, like, in the middle of the circle. And it, like, zooms in really slowly, and she just, like, loses it. But then she goes to group therapy. She talks to a lady, and then that lady finds her after. She starts trying to go to group therapy, and then this lady approaches her named Joan. And she's like, "How are you feeling after your mom died? It's been some time." And she's like, "Psych, my daughter also was killed," she says. She doesn't say my daughter died. She said my daughter was killed.
Yeah.
So it's, like, very clear she thinks it's her son's fault. And
Joan's like, "No way!
What?
I can die too!
Wow.
We have so much in common."
People listening are gonna be like, "What the fuck? Like, why are they being mean about this lady?"
Oh, I'll fucking be mean at Joan!
Fuck Joan.
We have opinions about her.
Oh my god. So Joan is like, "If you ever want to talk," gives her number. So she gets her number from Joan. Horrible family dinner. The worst family dinner of all time occurs.
You think your Thanksgiving dinners are bad?
Put up.
Great
Jesus.
Thanksgiving movie, guys.
At the Aster household. Amazing. And then you find out that Toni Collette sleepwalks, and she once doused Peter in lighter fluid and almost lit them both on fire. And she's like, "And he holds that against me." It's like, no shit, Toni Collette, yeah.
The blame game in this movie is insane.
It's insane. So they have a horrible family dinner. They're screaming, they're yelling, they're crying. She meets up with Joan by happenstance again, and Joan tells her that she connected with her dead loved ones, her dead grandson, and so she shows her how to perform a seance. And, like, the cup moves on its own. There's a chalkboard, and he writes, "I love you, Grandma." And then Toni Collette's like, "This shit blows." And then tries to do the seance, like, right after. And so then she wakes up her husband and Peter, and she tries to get them down. She's, like, losing it. But they end up moving the cup around, and then there's, like, a sudden candle lighting up, and then it goes out, and then it lights again, and then Toni Collette is possessed by the daughter, so she's screaming out, like, "Mom, mommy, mommy, mommy," and then her son is also screaming, and it's awful. And then her husband throws water on her, and she, like, snaps out of it. And then Peter is in school the next day, and he ends up, like, sticking his hand up in, like, a really weird way, and then his face looks all fucked up, and everyone's like, "What is wrong with him?" And then he just starts slamming his head against his desk and breaks his nose.
I do like how briefly the teacher's like, "Oh, yes, Peter, your hand's raised."
Yeah, I know. I'm like, what the fuck? Yeah, it's like a marionette hand, kind of. Like, it's just all fucked up.
Yeah.
And then, while that is happening, earlier, there was a call that the grave had been desecrated of the mom. The mom's grave was desecrated. And the mom and her have this weird relationship, and the mom was, like, very possessive. They were, like, estranged, and then she was trying to be possessive of Peter when he was born. And then she was very possessive of Charlie when Charlie was born. And then Toni Collette's dad starved himself to death, and her brother hung himself. And she said he was schizophrenic, and that his mom was trying to put people inside of him, and then he killed himself. So keep that in mind. Mm-hmm. And then Toni Collette there's, like, a notebook that they use to summon Charlie, and there's a bunch of pictures of Peter in there, like, crying, and then with his eyeballs crossed out, so that's rad. And she tries to light that on fire, and then her arm starts lighting up on fire at the same time, so she has to pull it out. And then Peter comes home, she grabs her husband, she's like, "Okay, I love you, you're the love of my life, you need to light this on fire, it's gonna light me on fire, I'm the only one who can fix this." Mm-hmm. And something's going after Peter, and then the dad's like, you're sick, like, you're having a disassociate, like, you're losing it. And she ends up throwing it in the fire, but it doesn't light her on fire, it lights him on fire. He burns to death, and then oh fuck, I forgot about the light. Okay, and then Toni Collette is screaming, and then there's, like, a light that looks like the reflection from a pool that has been showing up. Charlie sees it early on in the film. Peter keeps seeing it. I said it looks like Tinkerbell on a stage production of Peter Pan. But then that light, like, washes over Toni Collette, and she goes from, like, screaming to, like, a dead face. Mm-hmm. And then Peter wakes up, and Toni Collette is on the wall behind him in the darkness, and you can't really see it. And I cannot imagine. I knew it was coming. I knew the shot. I cannot imagine watching that without knowing that. I can't. And Eric, you said you had seen it pretty early, but other people were like,
it's just like you hear, like, you realize it, and then you just slowly hear other people realize
God.
it. And they just hold on it for a while. And then especially like it's like dark enough that you can't really see it right away.
Yeah.
And like they never do like a blah. Like,
they do a blah.
Huh?
They do a blah. They do a jump scare, but it's later.
Well, yeah, but like not in that
Not
scene.
in that scene. No, so it's for a long time.
It's so there's so many moments that they could have done it.
I know, it's good that they didn't. It's really good that they didn't.
It's everything that I want in a horror movie. It's everything we've talked about with just doing something in the background. 100% more creepy.
So she's like crawling along the wall behind him, and then he is moving through the house. He finds charred, busted dad, and that's when Toni Collette jumps out at him and starts chasing after him, and he runs up into the attic. And earlier in the attic, we found the headless body of her mom, like blackened and rotting, and there's a bunch of flies up there. And then there's like a shrine, and there's candles, and then there's this like naked old man staring at him. And then he turns around, and Toni Collette is there. No, the naked man is not there yet. Toni Collette is there. We saw the piano broken earlier. She is sawing her head off with a piano wire, staring at him, which I have seen. I watched that part. Why?
Bravo.
There's just blood dripping on him, and he's just watching her saw her head off, and then he turns around, and then there's a bunch of naked old people smiling at him in the attic, and then he screams, jumps out a window, presumably is dead. We saw naked people earlier too. There's a shot away from the house, and then there have been a lot of shots of the house, like it looks like almost in miniature, but then there are suddenly like naked people standing around the house for like a second. I saw it, and Eric didn't see it, and Eric was like, no! And so he is lying on the ground, and then the Tinkerbell light goes over him and enters him, and then he stands up, and you see Toni Collette's headless body float out the window up into the treehouse from earlier. He walks over to the treehouse. There's a bunch of people bowing in front of this crazy mannequin that has Charlie's head on top of it, and then Toni Collette's body is bowing, and then her mother's headless body is bowing. And then Joan tells Charlie, you don't need to be afraid anymore. We got you the right host. Now you're Paimon. And then gives an unnecessary amount of exposition, because Toni Collette also in the attic found her mom's shit and found out that Joan knew her mom, and that they all had the same symbol on their necklaces. And I found her, like, pile of demon shit she didn't look at in the attic.
Always look through your dead relatives' possessions to make sure they're not
do that first. So Toni Collette already saw all this stuff earlier, and then found all those... that was one of the discoveries in the many discoveries. Apologies for forgetting.
That's why it's fuck Joan.
Oh my
god. She's just so there for her and so fucking fake.
I know.
Which is so weird to be like, oh my god, you just went through a trauma? I go through trauma. Let's bond over this.
I mean, it worked.
And then it worked, and then she's at, like, the...
Because Toni Collette's saying, like, we opened something up and I caused this and it's my fault now. And then they all say, Hail Paimon, and there's, like, crazy music playing, and that is the end of the movie. And that was Hereditary.
Oh, well, that is.
Yikes.
Hmm?
Yeah. That was Hereditary.
Right.
I think recapping these are my least favorite part of the podcast.
We don't have to do them.
Because I have to... Well, I think you do if you haven't seen the movie. It's like more, we didn't even read the wiki.
Oh, no.
We're falling apart.
Oh, no. Ari, what have you done to us?
Oh, my God. I'll cut the wiki back in.
Okay.
Should I read it now?
Yeah, just... Jamie, this is where you cut in the wiki.
Okay, perfect.
You're a wiki boy. No,
I'm in Billy Shapiro's thing. All right, the Wikipedia article is...
What an unfortunate last name.
Yeah, for real. I wonder if they're related. I think summarizing it is good, because I know some people who don't fuck with these movies at all, and they just listen, so at least they have some context for whatever the fuck we're talking about. Oh, boy. So I think this movie... I'm, shook I could watch it. Proud of myself for being able to watch it. But also,
Jamie.
Didn't feel... I think it would have been, very, very effective on me, as in ruining my life, if I had seen it at any other point in time other than right now. Because there's a lot of ideas in this movie that are, scared of losing a family member, losing a loved one, having it be your fault. I've talked about, what I'm most afraid of, but, I was talking to Eric, accidentally killing someone else is, one of the worst things I can imagine. It's the worst thing I can imagine. Your sibling? Awful. No. It's awful.
The movie composites, gives you a reality or a situation of an event that you never want to think about. It's
unthinkable. Yeah. It's
and then they show it. Mm-hmm. It's just so awful, because that's what it is. And it's what do you do?
What do you do? You fall apart.
And that's when I become... Paimon did cause all this, but it's thank God for Paimon. To have like this horrible incident to happen to, thank God for Paimon. Thank God for Paimon.
Thank Paimon for Paimon.
For Paimon's sake. But like just like it's almost like, oh, what a fucking relief. It wasn't my fault. It was some
That's
big
kind
demon.
of honestly, like I think that, and I know a lot of people disagreed with the supernatural stuff being in the movie. It does give you a relief in some way.
I think that's why it's more like commercially and like widespread friendly. Because if this movie didn't have the cult in it, it was just a family dealing with the fact that he killed his sister. Imagine this movie. Imagine how awful. It'd just be awful.
I mean, it is. It's pretty awful.
I mean, but just so much worse.
I actually really, I wouldn't say enjoyed, but like was like enraptured by the family. Like there's a scene where they fight, like they're arguing over a family dinner. You said that was the hardest part for you to watch? Those parts?
Yeah, it's
just
definitely
like the grief.
I think like that, and then him in the car trying to look back and not being able to look back, and then like just that whole sequence until the point of the mom finding her.
Yeah.
Awful. And then the dinner table, because there's just like so many oof moments.
Yeah, a lot of oofs.
Like this movie, like it's just like this. It's all this like subtle blame game of like how the mom talks about the son, how the son talks to the mom, and how they interact.
I feel like not even him. I feel like because I wrote down, so we got some good English class allusions. Love that for us.
Jaime loves a good.
I do. I love it.
A good classroom.
I love it.
Talking about free will.
Someone says they're all pawns in this horrible, hopeless machine. Talking about something. And Toni Collette, when she's first in the grief circle after her mom dies, she says, and I feel like I'm to blame. And she says, no, I'm not to blame, but I am blamed. And I don't want any more stress for my family because they couldn't support me. But I think that's like that point of view is like very selfish, because you can't expect when you say my family doesn't support me, like how do your children support you? Your young children, like your high school age son and your young daughter, like the kids can't support their parents.
Right.
You know.
She shouldn't have kids.
Oh, big time. Well, she says that too. Okay, so then I think the best scene of the movie was when it's the dream, the nightmare.
Jaime also loves a dream sequence.
Love a dream sequence. Love an Ari Aster dream sequence. So she follows this trail of ants into her son's room, and he's like crawling with ants, and then she screams. And
what is this, a possession for ants?
She's screaming, and then he wakes up, and was she grabbing his head? Was that when that happened?
That
was later.
This is like, it's a double dream where then...
That's right, okay. So he wakes up, and he's like, why are you screaming? And she says, I never wanted to be your mother, and then like immediately covers her mouth, and he's like, why? And she's like, I didn't want to be pregnant. And he's like, well, why'd you have me? And she's like, I tried to have a miscarriage any way I could, but she pressured me. So her mom pressured her into getting pregnant, obviously to get a host for whatever. And her mom also she kept her mom away from Peter, but she said her mom got her hooks into Charlie, and her mom like tried to breastfeed Charlie when she had Charlie. It was like fucking weird. Yeah. Have healthy boundaries with your family members, everyone. That is the moral of the movie. Stay no contact if you're no contact. I felt like I was reading the Reddit mother-in-law thread.
Have you had a mother-in-law who tries to have you have a child?
Problems.
Found my mother-in-law's headless corpse in the attic last week.
Am I right? Fuck me.
Stinking up the house.
Jesus. Horde of flies. Am I right? What's up with flies?
What's up with the flies? I'm not the Lord of
Flies. The plague of flies in my home.
What's next, ants?
Oh my god. She shouldn't have had kids. But I think Annie's a pretty selfish character, which I don't think is a bad thing.
I think it's very human.
Yeah, absolutely. Yeah, she can't see, because she digs into him at the dinner, and she's like, it's your, I wish, she says, I do everything for you, and I wish I could take away the knowledge of what you did, but your sister's dead.
It's just so many of those like cutting, they're saying one thing, but it means so much more.
Yes, it's like, I'm sorry you're upset that you murdered your sister, is what she says. And then he's like, what about you? She didn't want to go to the party. And then the dad cuts her son off. Yeah. But her son never gets to like hit her back. Like he never and all he wants is for her. It's so sad.
He just wants his mom to like be a mom.
Like, yes. Yeah.
And he's like he's like kind of like, not even a shitty kid, but he's just like kind of like...
He wasn't even shitty. He loved his sister. She was fucking weird. And he still loved her.
He's just kind of like but he's like, I don't know.
Yeah.
It's like he's not shitty. He's just like, like a stoner child teenager. It's just like everything he's doing is natural. It's the mom's, but like she's putting so much on him just as her mom did to her.
Mm-hmm. Yep.
You're just like, it's because you're inheriting. Like not just like your parents, because it deals with like mental illness. We can get into this later when we get into the themes, but like not only like mental illness and stuff like that, but it's also like you inherit your family's traumas.
Yeah. And then.
Mm.
And then. Yeah, and the dad is just like, okay, what do you think of the dad?
Oh man, we're gonna get to the dad.
You kept asking me, what do you think of the dad? And I was like, what do you mean, what do I think? What do you think? So what do you think?
Okay. So the dad's like, I think the dad is like somehow the least talked about character. Because like, okay, Toni Collette.
Yeah, he's last on the bill, on the listing.
Which, to be fair, that's like his purpose, is to be the last of the family. Because like Toni Collette's giving it. It's her movie. It's like her problems that she's dealing with her kids and like all these situations.
Yeah.
Alex Wolff and Millie Shapiro both also great in their roles.
Yeah.
Millie Shapiro barely in this movie.
Yeah.
I forgot how like just not in this movie she is.
Yeah,
but
it's in
she's
like
so
the
memorable.
first 15 minutes, right?
40.
40?
Yeah, because remember we paused it.
But she was already dead when we paused it.
Really? Oh
yeah.
Shit! All right, never mind.
It's pretty. I mean, maybe not 15, but it's pretty early.
Like yeah, it's a 2-hour movie.
It's earlier than you think.
Mm.
Yeah.
And then there's the dad. And so, like, this movie's so much of her and her kids and, like, their issues. And, like, this dad happens to be, like, he is in this family. And, like, but, like, the issues that she has with her mom aren't his. He just married into that.
Oops.
And
be careful who you marry!
I don't think... he's so interesting because it's just, like, what you said it, too. You said it perfectly while we were watching it. Of, like, he has good intentions. He's just not good. He doesn't have the tools to deal with it.
Yeah, he's just not equipped for the situation.
And, like, it's like, how much can you blame him for it? Because it's just, like, that certain situation. To imagine marrying someone and then, like, all of this kind of unraveling and then, like, these relationships forming, like, how do you step in? And he does take more of an inactive approach in most of the case.
Yeah.
But at the same time, it's just, like, he's trying to console his son. He tries to console her.
But, like,
he snaps at them.
The point where he's like, I'm not doing this anymore is after he finds the headless body of her mom, after her son, like, after he broke his nose out of, like, fear, like, after the seance, then he's like, I'm not doing this anymore. I'm like, this is where you draw the line? Like, and you see him emailing, so there was a deleted scene. There was a scene in the script, which I was waiting for, because I knew he was a psychiatrist, and Eric was like, I never caught that, but in an email, you can see he's emailing another psychiatrist, and they have the same email, like, address, like, at whatever. So that's the only way you can catch it, which would give him a little bit more of an active role, but I understand why they took it out. Yeah.
But it's just like, that scene, it's just, I don't want to like dive into it too much because it's just awful to think about. But just to like watch your loved one like break down, like you were, from his perspective, what he is witnessing is his wife just like snapping.
Well, yeah, absolutely.
And it's just like so heartbreaking.
I think I would think it was her too with the body too, because he's like, you dug up your mom's body, huh?
Oh yeah. Because there's so much before that happened where she was just breaking, and he's like a psychiatrist, so he's probably trying to like rationalize it out and think about it.
He's like, history of mental illness in your family, which is actually a demon.
Yeah.
Oh.
Whoops. And so like in that scene where she's just like telling, like, to imagine being in his head and just like realizing like your wife has now fucked up, like, your child's life, and now she is gone, and you have lost your family's gone.
Yeah.
Because that's his coping. Everyone copes differently in the movie, and his coping is trying to like, hey bud, you go for your SAT prep,
your SAT
and like
prep
I made
score.
dinner, and like he's like just trying to get some sort of normalcy.
Yeah.
And at the end, he loses that completely, and he loses that battle, and
it is almost a relief that they all die.
Yeah, she does so good in this movie as a child.
I know. I am excited to see what else she does. Also, like, just being a professional delight on set.
Yeah.
Just being like having her shit together and like being super good at acting.
Yeah, I would love to like hang out with Toni Collette. She seems, every time I watch an interview with her, she seems wonderful.
Yeah, I found out she's Australian, and I shook Eric. Yeah,
that's the one that. See, I'm just saying that on the pod just so I can meet her and say, "How dare you? How dare you be Australian?"
I've never caught it ever. Never caught it.
She's never Australian. She's always like a mom. Every time I see her, she's a mom, or like just like an American person. But yeah, so what are your thoughts of the dad?
I don't know, man. What you're saying makes sense. I just it hurts to look at, like you said. Like it hurts to try like put the pieces together too long of this movie. Like you can't. I am really glad I'm watching it where I am at right now. Because I didn't do my normal thing of like imagining myself in the movie because I couldn't. Like I couldn't. There's no way. Yeah, but this movie is like super triggering. Like we'll put trigger warnings in there for basically a lot of things. It's gonna be
like, you gotta do it fast. You gotta do like the
oh my god, like a car salesman.
Hereditary might include trauma.
It's like sitting with a bad thing happening is like the bad thing. Like it's not a bad thing, it's the bad thing. Like the worst thing that could happen. Like having to sit with that and like
right, because it's like a horrific, like you watch the movie and then this horrific thing happens, you're like, holy shit, can't believe that movie did that. But then there's the rest of the movie, and then that's like, and then it's just like, oh, it's all bad.
Yeah. Do you think that the supernatural element ruined the movie? How do you feel about that?
No, I needed that in the movie because that's what makes it like fun.
You're like, yes, this is the best part. Put your hands up.
I mean, I think everyone has a little bit of a fascination with the occult and like witchcraft and stuff like that, and it's just kind of fun. It's fun to blame. It's nice, like what we just talked about. It's nice to blame a cult on all your bad stuff. Because otherwise you just have to deal with it yourself.
Because a lot of people hate that shot of Toni Collette floating up to the treehouse, which I think was so sick.
It's spooky.
Like, yeah, they didn't like the cult shit at the end. They thought it like ruined the movie. And I'm like, okay, well, bye. I thought it was good. I'm really glad it was in there. I was so relieved to know the ending watching the whole movie. Because I was just like, oh my god. Like, I couldn't think about trying to like sit in those feelings. So, knowing the ending, I was like, okay, we're good. It was a demon. You guys are all gonna die soon, don't worry. It's already almost over, guys.
They're there.
Jesus Christ. Yeah. Woof.
Okay, so...
What didn't we like?
Yeah.
I don't know. What about you?
I
gotta think about it.
I don't like the exposition dump at the end of being like, oh, you are the human...
Oh, yeah.
And your Charlie is now Paimon, and Paimon is you, and you're the male host, and then you're going to do all this stuff.
So they showed both endings, and the ending without it did really poorly with screeners.
I feel like, well, one, it's that D+ rating. People are confused. But also, it's kind of, I guess, like some sort of relief. Because you're just watching all this fucked up shit happen, and then you have somebody almost like talking you through it, just like how she was talking.
She's like, "Hey, it's okay.
Yeah.
We're gonna have wealth and riches, and we rebuke the Trinity."
And we were everywhere, like that guy at the funeral, one of your classmates, Joan. Yeah. Everyone is part of this fucking cult.
Yeah, it's
and
crazy.
They planned up this whole thing, and that's like where we talked about in Midsummer of Ari Aster having this like trope of like having all these circumstances happen where it seems like impossible. Like, how did the cult plan for them to go to this party? How did they plan for her to eat the cake?
Yeah.
How did they plan for her to hit that head on the pole, even though it has like the symbol on it? And it's like, you almost can't take it too, like, it's like, that's the thing.
It does a really good job in this movie. I see definitely where it's sloppy in Midsummer. Mm-hmm. But this movie, it's like, that's it. It was going to happen how it happened, and it happened.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, and that's all. And I really liked how it did that. I think we didn't need the obituary in the beginning either.
Like the
beginning of the movie. Yeah, we didn't need that either because it just opened on the funeral.
Yeah.
I don't think we needed this movie. The movie holds your hand at weird points.
The beginning and the end.
Yes, but it's like you already did everything in the middle.
Right.
It doesn't matter what you make the sandwich with. In the middle part of the sandwich is still important.
I would argue that it does matter what you put.
Well, I guess, but it's already like the damage was done.
Yeah.
You know, like you can't be like bread, trauma bread, delicious. Like, no, it's still a trauma sandwich. So I think that might be it.
Yeah, I think.
Oh, the dog. There was a dog. The dog can tell shit is going on, and then you see the dog's dead body. You probably wouldn't. I wouldn't have noticed it unless you pointed it out.
And it's not even graphic. You just see like
the dog
it lay on the side.
Yeah, it's stupid. The dog didn't need to be in it. It didn't do anything. It didn't even give us like whatever. It was stupid.
It almost felt like it was just there because it had to be there. Because that's what you have in some sort of possession movies, that you have to have a dog that like.
I know, it sucks. I hate that. That trope is canceled.
Yeah. Because you know what happens if it's a cat? The cat's gone.
Your cat's like, later,
I'm out.
Go.
Or you see the cat naked at the end of the movie standing.
That's the hidden cut of Cats. That's the third cut.
There is a moment in Cats where they all start to say, "Hell, Paimon."
Oh my god, it would be better. It would be way better.
Jason Derulo cuts off his own head.
Oh my god.
Do you want to dive into like themes of the movie?
Yeah.
All right.
Is there what did you like though?
Oh, what did I like? Okay.
What did you like?
I mean, it's crazy because it's done so well, but what it's doing well is awful.
Yep.
It's awful, but it's good because, again, I think it's good because it's able to like, it's almost, I guess that's like the voyeurism of it, of like, here, we don't make you experience this horrible thing that you never would ever want to experience.
Yeah.
But we're going to put a cult in there so you can like cope with it. And then be like, oh, I watched that movie. So I'm able to like experience what that would kind of be like.
Yeah.
For a moment, and then like get out of it, and then be like, okay, there's a cool, wacky cult that was behind all of it, and I can move on with my life.
Yeah.
I'm worried about Ari Aster, of like, this is where he has to go to like deal with his trauma.
Yeah.
Which we'll talk about in some of the themes. But like, I just don't understand that extreme. But I'm also interested on the fact that he's able to go that extreme.
I just really hope he's not like doing it to be edgy.
It doesn't seem like
it doesn't seem possible. So that's why I don't know.
What did you like about the movie?
I think every shot of the movie is iconic, like instantly. So I feel like that's part of the reason I felt like I'd already seen it, is because I saw it everywhere. Like the shot of the husband on fire when she's like staring at him, like just Toni Collette's fucking face, like Alex Wolff's face, like the color palette was beautiful. The demon light effect was really sick. I really liked that a lot. I didn't know about that. So it clips too, because we paused it and we're already halfway through. Like it felt like we had just gotten started. So the movie like moves, it schmoves. Yeah, it gets going.
So smooth and smooth.
I really like the supernatural ending as well.
It really is like playing the hits. Like I think I said that during the viewing of like, oh, here it is, one after another of just like iconic of just. I
know. We pause it, and I was like, we really cannot pause it from this point on. I know we can't, because I know it's about to happen. So we just have to ride through it.
Yeah.
Yeah, it was wild. I don't know. It was beautiful. It was like beautifully shot too. Ari Aster loves his triangles.
He does.
Quite a bit of triangles.
The house looks beautiful.
The effects were amazing too, because I was asking Eric how they got his nose breaking on the desk shot, and he assumed it was like a foam desk, but that shot looks crazy.
He wanted to do it on a real desk, by the way.
That's insane! He wanted to break his nose for this movie.
Yeah, and then Ari Aster is like, love your dedication. No.
After saying this, I can confidently say Alex Wolff did not need to go method on this one. Oof. He did a great job. He did not need to do what he did.
I think that's like most method acting.
Yeah, almost all.
Like, did Jared Leto need to send people dead rats? No.
We can't talk about Jared Leto.
Did Daniel Day-Lewis have to become Abraham Lincoln?
Yes.
Yes. And he still is to this day. That's why he retired from acting. He's getting into politics now. Oh my God. He's building a log cabin as we speak.
He might have a Civil War to fix, so. Thanks, Daniel. 2020 is a nightmare!
What if like a Civil War breaks out, Daniel Day-Lewis is like, I got this.
Don't worry.
I have a party, a Lincoln accent. He's like,
is that Abe Lincoln's voice?
This is how he talks as Abe Lincoln.
Oh my God.
He had a high-pitched voice. This isn't it. This is just Eric now. False calls.
No voices. This is almost Pennywise. No. No. Oh, you're like a spray bottle. No. No. Anti-bit juice.
I'm not doing an Australian accent against Toni Collette.
Do it right now.
I'm Crocky.
Okay.
I'm in Hereditary.
I wanted to talk about the cool lighting the arm on fire effect, because her arm lights up on fire, and I was asking how you did it, and you said how you did it, how they did it.
Well, I'm assuming. Okay, so it seemed like the shirt was a little bit off of her, so I'm assuming they either had. They could have actually lit the shirt on fire. Maybe had like some like a sleeve and then some like flame retardant underneath.
Yeah.
They could have also maybe sent up like a wire through the arm that had like that they would ignite it and it would kind of go up.
It was sick.
It was good.
It was so cool.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Pyrotechnics are wild, especially like when he's on fire in the end.
God.
Like
I don't
fuck,
even, yeah.
It's just a dude in a suit, probably fucking lathered up and flame retardant and just lit.
The Charlie's head also, there's like a hard cut to her head. Like, okay, her head falls off. The scene of trauma and grief, it's horrible. It hard cuts to her head in the road covered in ants, which is like
when you watch
miserable.
the movie, when you're watching it, you're like, oh, they didn't show it. It's like, oh, okay, it's like worse not seen. Oh God,
like, I
saw it, no.
But that prosthetic for her head looks so sick. So we will post it on the Instagram after. Have you seen it? after several images so people can know, like, warning, here's a prosthetic of a head.
Do it where it's like 10 warnings
yes,
and then show
literally,
it. Yeah.
Yes, yeah, but it's really cool the way that they built it out.
Wild that somebody is just like, so good.
Kid
Kid head.
Great. Yeah. Yeah. I think themes. I would like to hear what you got. I'm gonna read about. I've read quite a bit about this movie, but I will continue to do so.
I did too. Wow.
Yeah, well, I mean, as is the Eric way.
Ari Aster has been quoted on several things about this movie, including saying it was an opportunity to grapple with unresolved anxieties. He said it was very therapeutic and very personal.
Wild.
He then continues to say, I have an amazing relationship with my parents and my younger brother, but I can say there has been a lot of suffering in my family. I can't really talk about it. It didn't befall me, but
He's
it's
like,
befallen people that I care deeply about. Wild that you've had past family trauma. Everyone has some sort of like family issues, right?
Not this.
But not this. And I don't know what. And again, it's not his right. Like he doesn't have like the obligation to tell us that stuff. But
unless I hate unresolved secrets.
It's gonna come out eventually. There's gonna be like some sort of biopic about him eventually, or some biography, and they're gonna be like, "Well, this fucked up shit happened."
Yeah.
Or he just had a nice, pleasant life. Who knows? Because that's what he said too. He said that his parents were they're both artists, and they were very supportive of his like creativity and going into film and stuff like that. And so that's what he said, that he almost felt like he had like a good like safety net, so he felt more comfortable going to dark places because he was constantly being supported.
That's great.
So I don't know.
I don't know how I feel about that. I want to separate this movie from him because I think that's unhelpful watching Midsommar too, like trying to figure out.
No longer talking about Ari Aster. As you have pointed out from your favorite bits, the classroom, they talk about fate and free will.
Yep.
It kind of ties in with the whole Hereditary title. And all this of what they're inheriting.
What is it? Evil. What is the tagline? It's like evil
is hereditary.
Evil is hereditary.
Yeah.
Oh, well, okay. Well, that seems a little heavy-handed. In case you didn't get it.
Because Toni Collette.
Motherhood. Is central. Yeah.
Because Toni Collette's kids are almost like her own burden, because that's like also put on by. It's like Toni Collette's dealing with so much from her mom. And you could interpret it as like the Paimon being like a metaphor for. Mental illness. Yeah. I think it's more towards like inheriting trauma. Yeah. Like Toni Collette had like a fucked up childhood, has experienced death in her family, and then was like kind of like
her brother and her dad
into having kids, and she never really wanted kids, and so it's just like having an unhealthy relationship, and like what that does to the kids, and then continues on. Because I think we all can somewhat relate. I shout out to the people there who have great relationships with their parents, but even if you do, I think you do inherit some. You inherit some of their strengths, but you also inherit some of their flaws.
Absolutely, yeah. I think that's the most scary thing to me about thinking about becoming a parent is like how I'm gonna fuck my kids up. Mm-hmm. I don't want to think about it. I talk about my parents in therapy all the time. Right. So it's just like I don't want to think about my kid talking about me in therapy.
I think that you have to do your best.
Yeah. And sometimes your best is this.
And then ask for forgiveness. It's the dad. Like I think the dad is really like he has to be there for his son. Like because it feels like he's kind of cold to his wife, but it's like
he tries. I mean, how many times can you try?
Right. And she's also a grown person. It's not. He's a kid. He's an underage kid who just
their family was like the mom was in hospice with them and like incoherent at the end and living in their house. Yeah. So like that must have been. She was already talking about the stress their family was under before. And then Toni Collette, too, she says, what if it had all been worth something, like, it had brought us closer together, but now we're just, like, whatever. And it's like, I understand trying to, like, sort through any, like, for any scrap of meaning, like, you're just trying to dig through this pile of trauma for anything to, like, have been positive, but sometimes it doesn't bring your family closer together. Sometimes it does this. Mm-hmm. And then there's a demon.
Oh, oops.
Oops. More like, thank you. Yeah. Oh, my God. Yeah. I also think too, I'm very interested in Ari Aster's protagonist being female.
I was also interested about that.
Yeah, because this feels very personal about like motherhood and about like carrying a baby and like the way that women are useless in this situation. Like the daughter was groomed and then they did get her head, but it wasn't So the way that Joan was talking at the end too, it was like, Charlie, it's okay, now you're this thing. So it implies that the mom got Paimon's spirit in Charlie, which is why she was so weird. So he always possessed her, which was a weird tongue click thing. So she was always like half possessed, half herself. And then her dying was the stepping stone to getting actual Paimon. So, like, I don't know, like women are just vessels in this movie.
I was going to ask you about gender.
But the women are also all like, Joan's like cult leader, her mom was like Queen Ellen or whatever, and they saw her like wearing a crown and like in the thing. So it's like women taking all of the action, but like even all of the action that they're taking, it doesn't matter. You still need a man to like fulfill the role.
Well, it's all action in service of a man.
I guess a demon man. Because
it is interesting that the demon is so specific that he needs a male host. And I don't know what it's trying to say.
I mean, demons are touchy, I guess. I think Paimon is an actual demon.
It is.
Yeah. Okay.
I looked into it.
He's not invited.
And as I started to do all this research on Paimon, I found a interview with Ari Aster who said he just did it because he didn't want to do the devil again.
Nice. Okay.
And so I was like, well, this all doesn't mean anything.
That's so funny. He's like, and yeah.
Which I appreciate. It does make it feel like fresher. It makes it feel more.
Yeah, it's like one of the 8 princes of hell or whatever. He's like a demon.
One of 72, I guess.
Oh yeah.
And he's one of arts, and he's more of a djinn, like
okay. Yeah, because he said he's a god of mischief, but they said or demon of mischief.
And he grants wishes, which she did wish to die, and so I guess wish granted. Cut off your own head.
Bud.
Thanks, Paimon.
God, Jesus. Yeah, I don't think.
It's the Paimon payment.
His heads. I don't think gender is central, but I think it's interesting. I think it's interesting about Ari Aster as a person, and again, I want to like move away from what that means, but it's still like he is filtering his experience of something through a female protagonist.
Does it feel like it's through a male lens?
No, I don't think so. It feels like I have always felt like an audience member watching these movies. I have never felt like the protagonist. I always am very conscious of like watching the movie. Does that make sense?
Is that all movies, or is that...
No, it's not all movies, but
it's
these movies.
Okay.
Especially Midsommar, because like Danny is so likable, but I never felt like Danny in the movie. I was watching Danny go through this, so I was observing her. So it doesn't feel like male-centric. It doesn't feel like anything. It just feels like presenting the facts. And the facts are batshit, in my opinion. What do you think? Does that track? I guess you can now.
Well, yeah, because like I mean, from like a male perspective, with his movies, I've never been like, oh, I'm Christian or
thank God.
I'm Alex Wolff.
Yeah.
It's just like you're witnessing a situation.
Yeah, they're not. It's not like gendered, but I think it's a conscious choice he's making to have. I don't know who he represents in this movie if he does. But we found research that said he is Danny in Midsommar. Yeah. So, like, whatever. Don't tell us that. But also, yeah, I don't know. I think it's worth thinking about at least. But I think he maybe has to make some more movies, and we'll find out.
That's true. If he keeps on. Because that's why I was curious. I'm like, well, I'd be almost more fascinated to see him, unfortunately, make it a male protagonist in his next movie. Just to see, like, what he does with that. And if he does anything differently. Because it's weird. I do get... like an idea, like this is all from just assumptions though of like why he would do that, where it is to like change up the formula, where it is to be like, well, now it's like a female perspective, but also it's like a way to like distance himself from it, where it's almost like a different, it's like for him to explore his trauma but through like a different lens,
or maybe he just feels more like in touch with femininity, like as a element of himself or something.
Yeah,
that might be,
and that I can like relate to. I feel like I feel more comfortable being in that environment than like a more like masculine. The lighthouse. But then the lighthouse is just like this. But then it's miserable in the lighthouse, and that's how I feel. I feel like it's like miserable being in a masculine environment. It's like it's the boys' locker room. It's just like sweaty and gross and dumb. Yeah, and I hate it. And so I don't.
Maybe that's it. I don't know. Yeah, I think we need to take more time to see, but we will see. Maybe. It doesn't feel like exploitative. I'm thinking I'll cut this again.
Starfish.
Probably gonna cut off. Yep.
That's all I've been thinking about.
Yep.
No, we can talk about Starfish now on Shudder.
Oh my god, we've cut it so many times. Eric and I. Okay, technically, my first horror movie I did see was Starfish, which is an indie horror movie. We saw it at a local dope indie theater called the Film Bar. Shout out to Film Bar. And the director was there, and we watched this movie, and it was baffling, and I enjoyed. It should have been a short film. But he was putting himself through a situation, but he made the protagonist female, but to him that includes her stripping down and masturbating and a whole bunch of shit we did not need. Mm-hmm. So she felt very, even though she was his stand-in, she still felt very sexualized and objectified in the movie, in my opinion. Mm-hmm. Watch it for yourself. See for yourself. It's on Shudder. Getting good reviews. How?
Could we... Now, hey, welcome to our new episode about Starfish.
Oh my god.
I am always terrified of live Q&As because they never go well. And as we're at this live Q&A, not only did this director, he wrote this movie, and there's other weird supernatural shit going on, but the central, like, human element of it is that she cheated on her husband and is, like, regretting it.
Yeah.
And, like, dealing with, like, that loss that she created.
Yes.
But you kind of get that with that kind of story, it's probably something personal. The director probably used some of his family.
It's his first movie.
It's his first movie.
Yeah.
Of course you don't put all your life into it, because that's what like artists and directors do. It's like, this is my experience. Yeah. Here you go. A world's enjoy. What does a starfish mean? And in the Q&A session, Jamie's like, "Oh, I love the turtle in the movie."
No, I did that after.
Okay.
After to try this fucking dude.
Because
this fucking dude who was there on a date, I'm pretty sure.
Oh.
Raised his hand. He's like,
they're married now, Jamie.
That was it.
And then he cheated on her, and then made a movie about it.
He raised his hand and he was like, "So, I'm just gonna go there. Did you cheat on your wife, your ex-wife?" Because he talked about going through a divorce while making the movie, and he's like, "Yeah, I did. Yeah." And it was just like,
yeah,
Eric and I, both of us were just like tensing up. I could just feel us like, I think I like looked at you and I was like,
because he did say that thing where he's like, I have to go there. Like, I have to be the one to do it. Like, I'll do it. I'm Spartacus. Did you cheat on your wife? And then so it's shitty too, because it's like you cheated on your wife, and then you made a movie about the woman being the cheater.
The woman being the cheater.
And then
you had to make sure that she jerked off for us in the movie.
Wow.
That's super cool. That was super cool. Anyway.
Remember there was like an animated sequence, and then it got meta because they were making what a bad movie. Sorry. Anyways, so what any other thoughts on Hereditary?
Oh my god. I'm glad I watched it. Felt like I've already seen it. Can't wait to not watch it again. It was really good. I think it is as hyped up as it should be. I think I wasn't able to fully get into the movie, even though I still was reacting to stuff. I'd seen like too much of it to have a genuine reaction. It was just me being like, oh, this thing is happening that I know is going to happen, which I am grateful for.
Yeah.
It's kind of a bummer. I would love to now have all this, like, have my memory erased and watch this for the first time without any context.
Okay.
But, like, who I am right now after having watched other movies and having gone through therapy. Because there are, like, very specific, very triggering things in this movie that would have been, like, really, like, devastating to me. So, I don't know if I have, like, it's hard to have, like, a genuine reaction to it. It's hard to have, like a pure reaction because I have had so much... Like, I've already observed so much of it. Does that make sense?
Yeah.
Yeah. So, I don't know. I've been thinking about rating it this whole time. I don't know how I'm going to rate it.
Well, yeah. Because I get that. Because there's so many things, like, there's movies out there that are, like, in the cultural osmosis that you just know about.
Like, instant classic. Like, this movie is super important.
Yeah. It's like seeing Back to the Future.
I haven't seen Back to the Future.
or like, Karate Kid. Like, oh my god. I know you, but do you know what Karate Kid is?
Yeah.
Yeah, do you know the story? Okay.
Wax on, wax off.
Do you know like the plot of Carrie off the top of your head?
Yeah.
Yeah, so it's like that. But you've never seen Carrie, but like it's just like, I mean, especially with the ending being so iconic.
Yeah, yeah.
It's just you kind of know it.
Yeah.
And so when you go to watch the movie, you're like, oh.
But like
even you are the extreme of that.
Yes, I know. I've been like in the sauce with this movie. So, I was saying the whole time I cannot wait to go like completely blind into the next Ari Aster movie, whatever it is. I will walk in, trusting that little sweater man. Probably to my regret, but so I want your help rating it, because like, I wasn't that scared watching it.
Okay.
But that's because I haven't seen it. Like, I think it is a really fucking scary movie, but I was not scared because I had done so much. Even if I had only read the script and not watched the scenes, I think I still would have been upset, but I had already watched all the scariest parts of this movie.
So you didn't get upset or scared at all during the viewing?
I was upset, but I wasn't, Toni Collette got me on the one jump scare.
The one where she jumps down and starts chasing them?
Yes. That was it.
The villain or slasher, whoever it is in the movie, always scarier if they run. That's my hot take.
Oh, yeah, and also if they hang upside down and they bang their head on the wall.
That shot is so terrifying. It should be funny. Like, it feels like it should be kind of comedic, but it's just so fucking... No.
It's not. He's up in the attic and she's upside down on the wall like a spider, slamming her head really, really fast against the wall.
It's like the least iconic, but like the least, I think, shown iconic part of it, but it is very... Like, when you see
I'd already seen that in a GIF. So, like, I
where it's just like Monday mornings, just banging your head on the wall.
Oh my god. Me before I've had my coffee. I think I need your help because okay. I would...
How about on like a good scale? Can you rate it on a good scale? Is that more easy or is that harder? 5?
5.
Boom.
It has to be a 5. Mm-hmm. It has to be a 5. Like,
do you think this is a better movie than Midsommar?
Yes.
All right.
Yes. I enjoyed it less. I enjoyed it far less. Mm-hmm. But it is a better movie by a long shot. I think it's the best movie we've watched so far.
I think Midsommar is definitely more like palpable. It's like more.
Yes, and it gives you someone to root for.
Yeah. There's no real winner.
And it's funnier. Here. Midsommar's funny, despite all odds.
I'm curious to ask. I know we're trying to separate this boy, but like if he thought, because I feel like there's moments in Hereditary that he might have thought were like a little bit funny.
I don't know what they were. What do you think they were?
I don't know. Maybe the head banging. Maybe her sawing off her head.
Not funny. Not funny.
The naked people all
naked
smiling.
People a little funny. A little funny.
Yeah. What if there was one guy who just like was covering it up?
He's like, don't like my dick.
Like I'm here for Paimon, but also like self-conscious.
During the fight.
What if William Dafoe was out there? That would make everybody else go like, ah, man, not as sweet.
Get out of here, William.
Could you imagine Paimon goes into Alex Wolff and looks over and sees William Dafoe? He's like, you didn't put me in that guy. Come on, look what he's working with.
Stop! That's the most cursed thing we've ever said. Somehow. Oh my god. Eric and I kind of want to edit this over. We did start making wrestling commentary during the absolutely devastating fight because he hits her back with a "What about you, Mom?" It's like, oh my god, he's back up off the mat.
He's not done yet, folks.
Literally, oh my god.
But then the dad comes in and the referee breaks it up.
Fuck, that would be really funny. Let's not do that. I never want to watch that scene again. It's got to be a 5. I think on scariness, like, I did so much prep work and I was still a little bit scared. I would give it a 4 though, but you would give it a 5.
Yeah.
I think it's worth giving it a 5.
You want to do a 5?
Yes, I think if I hadn't totally fucking.
Yeah. Going into it blind is such a wild experience.
I cannot imagine.
And if you're still listening to this and you haven't seen it yet, honestly, like, good on you. Like, this movie is really, like, one that I'd be, like, really, like, understand yourself and, like, know yourself. Because it's weird. It's just a movie, but, like, you have to be, like... this just all builds up into the hype. There's
something for everybody in here. Yeah. It's KFC family-style meal bucket of trauma. Oh, something for everybody.
What if the dad was like, I already made dinner, and you went down, it's just, like, a KFC bucket? That, honestly, underrated part of the movie. The dad looked like a good chef. It looked like good food. It looked like a nice dinner.
I would eat, I would.
He had like a chicken, some green beans, a little bread. Yeah,
looked good.
Yeah.
Thanks, Dad.
Like, because Toni Collette sits up and then yells at him and then sits back down because the chicken's just so good.
She's like, I must finish this
meal. It's like, listen, I fucking hate your guts, but...
Oh my god. Yum. Sucks, dude. Yeah, there really is something for everyone in here. Something for everyone to get traumatized by.
Oh, yeah. Tell us your trauma.
Yeah.
When I did the research, I was like, I love researching it. Rewatching the movie, I was like, I only needed to watch it once.
Oh,
like, you do pick up on, like, more like, oh, there's the symbols. Oh, it was all planned. It's fine.
You got that from Reddit. I already got that from Reddit.
It's like you watch it once, you research it, you move on, you watch Midsommar. You know?
This is not your... Midsommar, I think, is really rewatchable somehow.
Okay.
If you're me.
If you're Jamie.
I've seen it 3 times. Planned on a few more because our episode convinced a few of my friends to watch it.
Oh, hell yeah.
Surprised.
Oh, yeah.
Shook. Somehow. Somehow that. They were like, yes.
I think there's something about... I think it's just like... him being so tight and visual.
I think the best part of this movie is the sound.
Yeah,
awesome.
Colin Stenson, shout out.
You can feel it pulsing on like the side of your head, and I thought it was going to go on the whole movie. Mm-hmm. And I was like, this is insane. They're just going to keep this droning up the whole movie. Like, I thought they were going to. And
after watching Color Out of Space, I realized how much of his score works. Because in that movie, I got the same. It's like in your gut.
Ooh.
Like, you feel gross. Ooh. And it's like, it's all this guttural
guts.
Guttural gutting.
And it's finally quiet when he falls out the window, too.
Yeah.
That's like the most silent part of the movie is like finally. And then it picks up again.
And then the fucking like the score of the century picks in there.
Yeah. Glad we watched it. Thanks for watching with me, Eric. Let's never watch it again.
I think I can agree to that. And that's the end of our show. As always, thank you so much for listening and continuing to support us. Feel free to leave us a review or maybe even shout us out on social media. You can tag us on Instagram at HoroscopePod with 1D or on Twitter at HoroscopePod with 2Ds. Your horoscope for the day is: life's gonna hit you hard. Try to keep your head on straight.